Before we begin, if you're drawn to the hidden tools, forgotten survival tactics, and the quiet technologies that shaped history, subscribe now. Because, well, some of the most powerful inventions in history weren't loud. They were humble, and they were hiding in plain sight. In the darkest years of the Great Depression, when banks collapsed, crops failed, and hope wore thin, there was one barn tool that quietly kept families alive. Not a tractor, not a rifle, not even a plough. It was smaller, simpler, and almost every farm had one. The hand-cranked cream separator. In the early 1930s, money became theoretical. You couldn't eat it, you couldn't plant it, and for millions of families you couldn't even access it. So survival shifted, from cash to calories, from wages to self-reliance, and that's where this strange spinning machine comes in. At first glance, it looks almost decorative. A tall metal canister, a crank on the side, a spout or two. But inside, centrifugal force, engineering elegance, and economic rebellion. Here's what it did. You poured fresh milk into the top. You turned the crank. Inside, a stack of spinning discs separated heavy cream from skim milk. No electricity required, just muscle, just rhythm, just persistence. In minutes, you had two products instead of one. Cream, rich, valuable, storable. Skim milk, drinkable, usable, feedable. Nothing wasted. Everything leveraged. But here's the part no one talks about. Cream wasn't just food, it was currency. During the worst years of the Great Depression, families couldn't sell corn at a profit. Wheat prices collapsed. Cotton rotted in warehouses. But butter? Butter still moved. Cream could be churned, salted, preserved and sold, or traded. Eggs for butter, flour for cream, labour for dairy. It bypassed banks entirely. The cream separator turned milk into liquidity. Local creameries survived because of it. Small farms survived because of it. Children ate because of it. And here's the conspiracy hiding in plain sight. Why don't we ever hear about it? Why do history books talk about Wall Street, but not the barn? Why do we study stock crashes, but not the tools that defeated them? Because self-sufficiency doesn't fit the narrative of dependence. When the banking system faltered, rural families didn't wait for rescue. They leaned on tools. The cream separator multiplied output without multiplying cost. It required no fuel during shortages. It required no loan during foreclosures. It required no permission, just milk and hands. Think about that. A machine that runs without electricity, without oil, without supply chains, built from steel and balance. It didn't just process milk, it processed fear. It converted uncertainty into nourishment. When farms were auctioned off, families often hid certain tools before the bank arrived. Ploughs could be repossessed, livestock could be seized, but small barn tools. They disappeared into neighbours' sheds, passed quietly between kin. Cream separators were shared, borrowed, protected, because everyone understood their value. This wasn't charity, it was mutual survival. The cream became butter. The skim milk fed pigs and calves. The pigs became meat, the calves became cows, and the cycle reinforced itself. That's resilience. Not flashy, not modern, but devastatingly effective. While politicians debated tariffs and relief bills, while the newly elected Franklin D. Roosevelt rolled out sweeping reforms under the New Deal, rural families were already running their own micro-economies, in barns, with hand cranks. And here's something even more fascinating. Cream separators weren't new. They had existed since the late 1800s. But during the Depression, they became essential. A quiet renaissance of old technology. When modern finance failed, mechanical physics prevailed. Centrifugal force doesn't panic. Steel doesn't speculate. Physics doesn't crash. It just works. Imagine being a child in 1932, hearing whispers about neighbours losing farms, watching your parents count coins that barely exist, and then, every morning, hearing that steady crank in the barn, predictable, reassuring, productive. That sound meant food. That sound meant trade. That sound meant tomorrow. So here's the unsettling question. If systems failed today, if supply chains snapped, if power grids flickered out, what's your cream separator? What tool in your life converts raw resources into survival? What simple device, sitting unnoticed, could multiply your resilience? We chase complexity. We upgrade constantly. But the Depression taught a brutal lesson. Durability beats novelty. Manual beats dependent. Simple beats fragile. The cream separator wasn't glamorous. It didn't make headlines. It didn't win awards. But it fed families when banks failed, when markets collapsed, and when uncertainty ruled. It represents a larger truth. Survival isn't about scale. It's about adaptability. And sometimes, the most powerful technology in the room is the one that doesn't need a plug. History isn't only written in boardrooms and battlefields. It's written in barns, in calloused hands, in spinning steel discs that quietly defy collapse. And maybe, just maybe, the next time everything feels unstable, the answer won't be digital. It won't be virtual. It won't even be new. It might be sitting quietly, covered in dust, waiting to be cranked back to life. When everything failed, this simple barn tool kept families alive, and it never needed saving.